Hi, third grade. Welcome to art class. This is your second to the last art project for the whole year of third grade. And next year, you'll be fourth graders in a whole new classroom. So that's exciting. So for today, let's make this a really good project so that you'll have something fun to look back on as third graders. I will need you to have a piece of paper and a pencil and a ruler and probably something like markers or color pencils. If you don't have those, crayons are okay too. You're also going to need your hand, so make sure you bring your hand with you to do this project. So you go gather those items, please, and I'll meet you back here in a minute and we'll get started. Okay, welcome back. I hope you're ready with all your supplies. We have paper, pencil, ruler, and I'm going to probably use some color pencils, so let me get them handy over here for us. Put them out of the way up here. Okay, to draw a three-dimensional hand, it sounds like it's going to be difficult, and if you look at it, sometimes it looks hard, but if you just go slowly and be careful and use your ruler carefully, then you pretty much cannot fail. Okay, so let's start out with step one. I would like you to have your paper in the portrait or tall view, because we want to be able to get your whole hand on the paper and probably a little bit of your wrist as well. Let me get my shirt out of the way a little. Okay, if you need help with tracing your hand, maybe ask a helper. It works better too if you have your fingers spread apart. If they're too close together, it makes it a lot harder. So how about you spread your hands apart as much as you can, your fingers apart as much as you can, and then carefully with a pencil, doing really light lines in case you have to erase. You're just going to trace around your hand. When you get to the ends of your fingers and your knuckles, sometimes it's a little bit harder to trace because there's a bump there. So on those parts, just remember, try to go lightly, not a really dark mark, and just take your time and go more slowly if you need to. Because at the end you can actually erase a few things, and I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Okay, so this is so light you probably can't see it. And I'm going to retrace this a little bit darker so that you can see better. So hang in there and I'll be right back to you. Okay, that's much better. Now you can see my hand. Okay, now, once you have your hand out drawn, you're going to want to have your ruler. Get your ruler out. And I would like you to start at the very bottom of the page here. And you're going to draw a line with your ruler over and over and over and over again, all the way up the page. The closer you put them together, the more realistic and more three-dimensional, I should say, this hand will look. Meaning it's going to look like the hand bumps out from the surface of the paper. If you draw your lines really far apart, like you put one here and one here and one here, it really doesn't work. So what I want you to do is use your ruler, and I like to line up. Can you see how I'm lining up the very edge of the ruler with the paper right here? How about I zoom in so you could see that better? Okay, I'm going to line up my ruler so that it's even right here with the edge of the paper. That will help me get the ruler to be straight, because if I don't line it up, the ruler could tip a little bit and be a little crooked. I want all the lines to be as straight as possible. So I'm lining it up here, edge of the ruler with the edge of the paper. And then I want you to draw lightly, but I'm going to need to go dark so that you can see it with my camera. So you're going to start here and you're going to draw a line with the ruler, hold the ruler in place so it doesn't slip. When you get to your wrist or your arm, skip with your pencil and then start again on the other side of the hand. So like this. Okay, let's zoom back out so you can see the whole page. Okay, so we started the line, lining up the edges, skipped my wrist, and kept going. Let me do a few of these so you can see how far apart I want you to make your lines, and then I'm going to do my whole page really fast on high speed so that you don't have to watch this whole thing. Okay, so I started at the edge, skipped my wrist, and came over here. See how close those are? You don't have to measure and make them all exactly the same, for example. They don't all have to be 1/4 of an inch apart. It's okay if there are little variations in it. Maybe some are, here, I'll do it on purpose. I'll line up the edge here, and I'll do, this one is going to be a little bit closer than the others, just so that you can see that that's okay to do. Okay, can you see how that one's a little closer than the others? So what I want you to do is continue on. Remember, always keep lining your ruler up here on the edge so that you get nice straight lines. Whoops. This will happen. It happened to me. It'll probably happen to you. I wasn't holding my ruler still enough and it slipped. If that happens, just erase, line up your line on your ruler, and just fix that little section. There we go. Okay, so here my wrist goes all the way off, so I don't have to draw any lines down in this area because this is all my arm right here. Okay, let me show you a couple right up here in the fingers so that you can see that in the regular speed motion before I speed the video up. Okay, step 1, line it up here, start at the edge of the page. I'm going to go over. When I get to the finger, lift up my pencil and skip. Put the pencil back down again after the pinky. I'm going to draw my line in between those two fingers. Lift up, skip. So I'm only making a line in between each finger. See that? No lines are actually on my hand. I'll do one more for you, and then, like I said, I'll go in fast motion, okay? So here's this. We line it up with the edge of the page. Make our line, skip the finger, make our line, skip the finger, line, skip, line, skip, line, skip. You don't have to go as fast as me. I can go fast because I've done a lot of these. Okay, if you make a mistake and you draw on the finger, just erase it and then fix your line. Okay, so I'm going to speed this up. You can work on yours if you want, or you can watch me. And just as a little tip, sometimes I like to turn it sideways because it's easier for me sometimes to work sideways. Whew. Okay, boy, that's a lot of work, isn't it? You have to really take your time. It's okay to do part of this and come back to it another time or another day. You don't have to finish this all in one day. It's kind of the beauty of doing art at home. And I'd like you to notice a couple places. Right here, the lines are closer, and right here, some are farther apart, and that's okay. It does not have to be exactly the same all the way up, but you do want them to be pretty close together. Okay, so now the next part of this is really making it turn out to be three-dimensional. Now this can be a little bit tricky. I would recommend that we start up here on the fingers because this area is they're thinner. Your fingers are thinner than the palm of your hand, so it's going to be easier for you to see how this works. Okay, let's start with this finger right here. Notice how this line comes across, skips, and then picks up right here. You want to look for the line and its other half, because you're going to join this where it stops and where it starts again with a curved line like this. With your pencil, you start on the line, the edge of your finger, and you give me a little bit of a curved line that comes back and it meets the other half. Let's do another one. Here's this part here, and here's the other half of it there. So I'm going to curve it as it crosses over the finger and bring it back down to join up there. And as I do this with each one, just giving a little curve and then bringing it back down to join the other half of the line on the other side of the finger. Do you notice how it starts to make your eyes believe that this hand is actually, or at least the finger part anyway, is actually sticking up from the paper? Okay, so I'm going to speed it up and do this on all the fingers, and then I'm going to come back to you for the palm of the hand. Okay, we got all the fingers done. Make sure it's in focus for you. Got all the fingers done. Look at how the hand is starting to look like it pops up off of the page. Okay, now the next easiest part is going to be this wrist part right here. So let me do that. But I will tell you that down here, the other side of the line is way over here off the page. We don't know where it is. So here's my... So what I'm going to do is just sort of fake it. Okay. Here's how we're going to handle the next part. It gets a little tricky right in here because my arm is going diagonally. So I don't really want to go straight across this way. I want to go across like this, right? So that I can show the roundness of my hand, or my wrist, my arm wrist. So I have to pick another half of the line that is not the one directly across, but it's skipping a few. It's hard to explain it with words, but this is what I mean. I'm going to find one edge of a line up here, and then I'm going to go and curve it and let it connect with another line down here. It doesn't really matter which one. I just want this kind of a motion and happening. And once you do the first one, the rest of it is easy because you just follow. Okay, so let's leave the hand for now and go down this way and finish the rest of the wrist. Okay, now we've run out of lines here, so we're just going to make them up. We're going to start with these lines that are here, and we're just going to let it go off the edge. So find the line, let it go off the edge. Now we don't have any more lines, so we're just going to pretend, and we're just going to continue drawing these curved lines the rest of the way off the page. Okay, so now my arm is starting to look like it has a little curve. I think the fingers really look better because they're smaller. Now we have the tricky part of the middle of the hand here. So we kind of have to make up some stuff. The first things that we're going to make up is, let's get these fingers down a little lower. So I have a line right here. I'm going to bring it across that finger. Then I'm going to pretend it dips down like that and it comes up and connects to that line there. So it sort of dips down where the in-between of my fingers is. So here we get this line on the edge of the pinky. We're going to bring it across. Let's let it dip down. Let's let it curve up, dip down. So it's following the line that was above it and giving my hand some shape. If this gets too tricky, ask your parent for a little help on this. Okay, so here we have nowhere for this guy to go. So I'm going to make it kind of curve up over, dip down, and then I'm not going to dip them quite as much because we're really not so much having the dents, your dents here, they only go so far. Okay, all right, so we got through that part. Now let's connect across here and see what happens. If you want, you can do a little dip, just a little bit maybe, and connect there. Let's let this one come up and over. Let's have it just kind of maybe go a little curve. The flat open part of the hand is really the trickiest part of all, I think, but you might feel differently. You might find that it's easy for you. Now we got to figure out, what are we going to do with all this stuff right here? Let's see. Let's find a line. Here's a line right here. I'm just going to sort of curve it around the thumb and bring it over. So all of these, I'm still going to make those curves, but here I'm going to dip around the thumb and come back down and join all the way to that one. Here's a line here. I'm going to curve up the thumb, let it dip down, but guess what? Now we're over here and nowhere to go. So I'm just going to let it connect with that guy again. It's okay to make some stuff up on this to make it work. I'm just following these lines. This one I'm just going to go dip down a little bit. And then let's put it over there. As long as you give it a little bit of a curve as compared to those straight lines that went across the back, it sort of all works out in the end. And one last one. There. Okay. Now let's zoom out and look at this whole thing. Okay. We're kind of getting there. There's only really one step left. You have a choice. Do you want this to be black and white, or do you want it to be color? If you want it to be color, what I would suggest is that in the hand, you remember when we learned about warm colors? Warm colors are like red, orange, yellow. Think of fire and the sun, warm colors. Warm colors come at you. They kind of come to reach out to get you. So if you made the hand with warm colors, it's going to feel like it's lifting up away from the paper. And if you made the background with cool colors, maybe, think of water or the forest, green, blue, maybe purple. Okay, so if you stripe these greens, blues, and purples, and you stripe these with reds, oranges, and yellows, your hand is really going to pop up off that page and really feel three-dimensional. If you don't really feel like doing color, then you can do a little shading. The way to make this look more three-dimensional when we shade it is to give it some shadow. So at my house, my light is right there. My thumb is touching my light. Okay, so you can see the light comes down on my hand in this direction. That means that the sun or the light is going to give a shadow on everything to this side. Okay, so if I come around with my pencil and I do a little shading on this side of the hand, can you see that? I'll make it a little darker. Notice how I'm holding my pencil almost flat against the paper so that instead of using the pointy end of the pencil, I'm using the flat so that I kind of have a lot more of that pencil lead getting on my paper. It's not really lead, it's actually called graphite. And it creates this shadow. Okay? And you can make your shadow a little bit lighter out at the edge and a little darker close to the hand. So in here I can even make it a little darker. So as I'm doing this, do you feel like you're starting to see more three-dimensionality to my hand? Meaning, is it starting to really look like it pops off the page? This is a lesson not only in line, straight and curving line, but also in shading. And in shading, we learn about dark and light, which is called value. You'll learn more about that next year. You don't really have to know too much, but I want to use the words so you get used to me saying the words and you get used to what they mean. Okay, so you can see I'm only doing around the left side of the fingers here and in that little swoop because my light is coming from the left side. And maybe on the thumb, maybe I'd do a little bit or something right in here. I put an example on our assignment, so when you first clicked into Google Classroom, you'll see one of the two that I put up is black and white, and one is in colors to give you an idea of different ways that you can do this. And I really think if you make it a little darker even, real close up to the fingers, let's zoom in one last time. Here's a good example right here. I'm going to make it much darker using the side of my pencil right here. And then see how it gets lighter as it goes out. So darker shading, darker value, lighter value. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. It's a lot of work. Maybe it's going to take you more than one sit down to do this. Maybe you'll work on this for a couple of days. But at the end, I think you'll be pleased with having your own three-dimensional drawing of your hand. And here's what it looks like, all done in black and white. If I had more time to spend, I'd give you some more dark on there, but I think we've been at this for long enough for now. So that's it. Have a great day. Thank you.